Hi everyone, it's Patty from pspapercrafts. Happy Friday. I'm glad you're joining me for another fun fold. Today we're making a multi-panel fun fold card, and this is how it opens, and it would sit up, whoops, like this, so the person who's receiving it could actually put it on display. You can write something here or leave it blank and write something on one of the back panels. I think it's really cute and it's fun and easy to make. So a multi-panel fun fold card. I saw a few of these out there. I found one lady who was from the UK and did it in centimeters, so I kind of made up my own. So basically, I figured I would have my card base, which is 5.5 by 8.5, score it at 4 to make our normal card base, right? And then just score it in half. So 4.25, so 2 1/8, 2 1/8, 2 1/8, 2 1/8, right? And then I just kind of figured this size and went with it. So today, for this card, I actually used the Spooky Halloween, and I just love this paper. It is so fun and easy. I'm not a big Halloween person, I have to say, but this is really cute for kids' cards, and you can even use this to make cards with your kids or grandkids. I'm gonna probably do that. So there's all these fun papers. Let me just get them. I've been using it. But then you have these 2 pages of oh, sorry about that. My neighbor borrowed my ladder and he just returned it and closed the garage door and the dog started barking. But anyway, so you get 2 pages of these fun die cut pieces. So I've used this quite a bit and it's just so easy. You also have pages where you can cut out these little, front stoops, and there's tags, and there's all kinds of stuff you can use in here. So I think this is great for kids. I think, isn't this cute? And then this little kitty cat or whatever she is. And what is this, a hippo, I guess? They're just really cute. So this is great paper, and this is the, what is it called? The Spooky Sweet Designer Series paper. And I love it when you can have some die cuts in there. So that's what I used to make this. So these are all die cuts, and then I stamped this and I stamped the sentiments. And the paper is 2 different patterns from that paper pack. Okay, so we are going to make the same design, only we're going to make a Christmas card. So with this card, we're going to use the Elegant Pine Snowflake Designer Series paper. And this has really pretty patterns in it. If you like the pine kind of look. Oh, trying to pull it off here. And I found that there's a page, this page, and I'll show you even more. Isn't that pretty? So they're like snowflakes, but they're pine needle kind of things. So we're using this paper, and then, so this sheet, you can actually use the dies, which I didn't realize. There's some dies that you can use, and I love it when you can either have die cut sheets or you can die cut from the paper. So there's this one. We'll cut out this, and then there's a pine cone die, and there's even a die for that little thing. So great dies. We're not going to, I've already done some die cutting with some other dies, and I'll show you when we get there. So we have this pack, and then, oops, got an extra piece there. It's always an extra piece. So I'm using Pretty Peacock and Cherry Cobbler, and then the white and some of these strips. So I'll go through everything as I'm making the card, but I'll also have a project sheet. If you go below the video, there's a description, and then there's a bunch of links to my blog, to my online store, to a project sheet, and you can find that there. So let's start with our card base. Again, it's 5.5 by 8.5, and we are going to score it and make sure we have our scoring blade, the light gray one. We're going to score it at 2 1/8. Make sure I'm in here. So 2 1/8. and then 4 1/4. And you can either flip it around and do 2 1/8 on this side, or you can open up your arm and it's 6 3/8. And I'm going to actually flip it, because once you get between 6 and 6 1/2, to me it's a little bit hard to see in there. You can do it, but I'm going to do the 2 1/8 again. Just seems easier to me. Okay, and I am going to leave this out. Before we burnish this, let's get our cherry cobbler piece. And this one is 6 by 4, and on the 6-inch side, we're going to fold it at 3, or score it at 3, so it's right in half. And you can use the same color. I decided I would pick out a couple of colors in the paper. So we've got that done. We can put this away. So let's do our burnishing. I just like to fold them, and then we'll burnish. Okay, get our bone folder, and then on this one we're going to just fold it, and then we'll fold it the right way. So this is going to fold, how does it go? Like this. Okay, so it's going to be like a W. Okay, so let's just burnish these a little bit more. So we've got everything nice and set. All right, so we've got our W, and then we've got this piece, WV. I think I've made this before because I think of West Virginia. My brother-in-law went to college in West Virginia, so when I see a WV, that's what I think of. So we are going to just adhere strips of designer series paper, and if you want to use a mat, a mat. So I have 4 of these mats, and the mats are 1 7/8 by 5 1/4, and then the designer series paper is 1 3/4 by 5 1/8. So it will fit nice on here, and then right on here. Okay, if you don't want to have a mat, then just cut your designer series paper the size of the mat. So the designer series paper, you would do 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. So that it's a little bit bigger. Hope that makes sense. So we're just going to lay all this down with our adhesive, and you can do whatever adhesive you want. You can use, I'm going to use my Seal Plus, and we just want to get this so that it's got an even border all around. And then, and I think I kept them in order. Maybe not. I thought I did. It doesn't matter really, but because this is a kind of a wild design. But if you want to keep them in order, this way when it lays out, I guess I didn't do that. I probably picked them up and put them down a few times. So it's kind of like an all-over pattern. If you have a pattern that's really kind of big, you might want to keep it in order. So when you cut it, the panels kind of go smooth. But this actually, I guess it does open up. Yeah, it doesn't matter. If you had a scene, sometimes you do a scene, and you would want the papers all in the same order, the right order. So you would cut them and keep them in order, which I think I did initially, and then I moved things around and they come out of order. It's like a puzzle. I could probably figure it out because I did cut them in order. Okay, and then one more. And then we'll just lay this on all of the panels. So once you have your cards, your card base scored and burnished, you're really just putting layers down. So now we're just going to add this right here. And you want to just look on the top and on the sides and try to make it centered. And then you're going to kind of use this as your guide as you go across, because you want your top and bottom of the layer to kind of look, you don't want it up here or down or something. You want to try to get them in a line as best you can. It's not going to be perfect. It's probably hard for you to see. And then our third one. And then one more. So easy. It's finally raining here. It's been a very dry summer and beginning of the fall. So hopefully everything will get watered. I went apple picking over the weekend with my family, and I was hoping that the dry summer didn't affect the apples, and it didn't. They were delicious. So we've got this piece done. Okay, and then we're going to decorate this piece. So on this one, I have the designer series paper, and on this one I have the cherry cobbler and then 2 white paces. So the cherry cobbler is, I think I said this before, it's 6 by 4. We scored it at 3, and then the white pieces are 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. If you wanted to do white, and then, you know, if you wanted another layer, you would just go down like 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch. But we're going to do this, and we're going to stamp before we adhere these down. So I had a couple of ideas, and I'm hoping they work out okay. So there's some dies in here, like this, and this, and this, that you just die cut, and even the acorn, but we're not using the acorn. So they don't die cut anything out. Like when you have your dies, the open images, I'm looking for my stamp set, here it is. The open images, so the stamp for this will die cut. This goes with this, and then this goes with this, right? And so on and so forth. But the ones that are closed, even this, you're just going to die cut, and you could die cut out of designer series paper, which is what I did. So I picked 2 patterns, and let me get them. So this pattern, so you see it, I die cut here, and then this pattern, and we're just going to play this pattern. So these are the die cuts that I came up with. These came from here, and aren't they pretty? So I have a couple of these, if I can get them, and then I have one of these again, and you can use either side. I mean, that side is pretty as well. Maybe we'll use that. And then on this one I did some of these big ones. I wasn't crazy about the other side of this, and then a couple of little ones. So we're gonna play and figure this out. I thought that I would do, I die cut this label, and that is from the Traditional Labels dies. It's this label here, and I'm going to stamp the Warmest Winter Wishes, and that is from the stamp set. Warmest Winter Wishes. And I think we'll do that in Cherry Cobbler. So I have that ink pad out. So I didn't do this yet. So usually I'm winging it when I'm doing the card I'm making. I have my idea in my head. I have pieces cut, but I don't have it figured out yet. So I'm hoping this all works out. Okay, and we're going to do one of these white sheets. And I'm going to cut this. I didn't cut it because I wanted you to see this one. You could probably, I was thinking you could do and make a kind of a snowflake, pine snowflake if you did this, and you can have the little ones in here, kind of like the stamp. But I'm not going to do that. But I just wanted you to see that that's how that works. So I thought we would put this down here, and it's pretty big, but I liked it. And I'm going to just trim these and see what we can come up with. I don't know if we'll use them all. And was it this one that had this side? So I thought we could just maybe put some greenery up here. And we don't want to go out too far. So when it closes, I guess over here we can go out, but we don't want to go out here because this is going to, I wanted to show you also, this will fit into, I thought I had an envelope, I do. This will fit into an envelope when it's closed like this. But if you kind of had stuff hanging over there, it would be a problem. Over here, we're okay. So, let's see. Do we want a little one? I don't know if that's too much. Let's kind of put these down, and then we'll work with it from there. So I'll just put a little bit of glue on the back of these. And I'm not going to put it on the whole. Let's see. Let me get another glue out. I thought I had a fuller glue. Nope. I guess I'll go with this one. That one feels a little bit emptier. There we go. And we're going to add this here. And it's okay if there's glue there. And we'll do another one like this. Should we do this color? That's kind of pretty too. Let's do it that way. And let's do a little guy. And I think I'm going to put this up higher. I think this has to come down a little low. So we're just building, and isn't that pretty too? Just going to build this little thing of branches here. Let's see how this will cover it. Let's put a little bit of glue here just to hold this guy down a little bit. Oops, I got glue everywhere. Okay, behave. So this will sit right here. And I feel like we need something down on the bottom. Let me just close this up so we don't have an accident. Okay, so we don't want to go too far over here. Maybe we'll just make it a little bit lighter down here. Less. Okay. All right. You guys probably have better ideas than this than I do, but we're going with this. So I'm trying to keep it within the white as much as possible. And then these other pieces I can save for another project. Okay. And let's see how this is going to work. I think I need these up further. That's the one thing about the liquid glue. You got a little bit of time to to adhere it. Okay, so let's put this down with dimensionals. Oh my goodness, my fingers are all sticky. All right, probably overdid it, but never have too many dimensionals on, right? I've got to get this glue off my fingers. It's dangerous. Okay, let's make sure we have it the right way. Okay, warmest winter wishes. And then on this side, I wanted to stamp. So I'm going to use some of the stamps on here and just kind of build some snowflakes. Some, I don't know if they're snowflakes, some branches or whatever you'd call them. So I have Pretty Peacock, that's the color of my card base, and one of the colors in the paper. And then I have Old Olive. And what I thought I would do is the Old Olive, and I don't want it this dark. I'm going to just stamp it off, get off a layer of color, and I'm just going to stamp it up here. We'll see how this works. And then I have this little kind of inside. I'm going to put that with Pretty Peacock, and you can line up the branches and just add this kind of inside layer. Not pretty? And then I think I'll do this one in Pretty Peacock right up here. And another one of these, but I think I'm going to do it in the Old Olive, so I need to clean it. This is so pretty. So let's clean that. And we'll do Old Olive. And we'll do that right up here. And then we're going to stamp in a sentiment. Hopefully it fits. Probably went a little wild. I want to do Celebrate the Season, but it's too long, right? So here we have Celebrate the Season. So I'm going to put Celebrate and then the Season. So the way we're going to do that is I'm going to get a piece of my masking tape, and we're just going to cover the words. And I might have to do this, may need a second piece. The T, this word is very, they're close together. So I want to get this little part here. Okay, and we're going to do this. Hopefully this works. We'll see. We're going to do Celebrate. Celebrate. Now the key is to take this off. You don't want this ink to go on your stamped, on your layer. So Celebrate. And then the Season. So we want to get rid of the ink on the Celebrate. And really make sure it's clean. You don't want any residual, especially with red. Red's always hard. And then we're going to take this or a new piece and we're going to cover Celebrate. Let's see if this will work. So now we have the Season visible. So we're going to stamp it or ink it, take this off, and I'm going to throw that away in a minute. And then let's do the Season. Phew, it worked. I'm going to throw this away so I don't get ink on anything. And then we can adhere these down. Okay. Not sure that I'm crazy about this, but I may play with it some more. So let's just get our, I know I have one out, but here's my other one, my Seal Plus. And we'll put this right here like this. So just eyeball, top, bottom, sides. And then on this one, I'm going to actually put it here because that's a little bumpy with all the layers. As long as you don't go out too far to the edges, that's fine. Okay, now the trick to this is you want to make sure when you put this on, you want to make sure that it's going to fit in your envelope, right? So you don't want it too far out, too far in. So what I found is if you open this up, this is how big the card will be. Okay, so we're going to do the front first, and I'm actually going to adhere it. So we're going to put glue right here. And I am going to do this with liquid glue. So you want to make sure you don't go too far in, but too far out. I'm a little bit in. Guess I can go out a little bit further. I'm going to go in a little bit. I think this is fine. And we're just going to put glue here. We don't want to go past this area. Okay. And then we're going to put this down. Make sure it's even on the top and the bottom and straight. Okay. And then we're going to close this up and kind of eyeball it here, about the same amount, right? You don't want to go too far in. And then we're just going to close this. Okay. So here's our card. This is our WV. And then this is what it will look like when the person opens it up and gets it, right? So it'll fit in your envelope here. And then I thought we would put some bling on it. I have these. These are the Cherry Cobbler and Pearl Adhesive Back Berries. So it gives you, I have another pack. These actually carried over from last year. But I thought we would do, I'm going to do it back here because I thought they would be really cute. The three of them. Right smack in here. And in here. And I know this is kind of the back of the card, but I think it works. Because it is the front when it sits like this. And let's put one here. And then we'll put one right here. You could probably put them up there too if you wanted. But what do you think? Warmest wishes, celebrate the season. And it will sit like this. So whoever gets it, it'll be a nice display. It'll look like this. And then there's the Happy Halloween Spooky. So these are the multi-panel fun fold cards. And I think they're really pretty and fun. I think, you know, whoever gets them would really like to display them. I love it when they can sit up by themselves and be pretty. And you can write on here, or again, you can, you know, write something on the back or just leave it. So this is, let's see, we're 1 week away. We have, next week, we're going to make an accordion Z fold card. And I think it's similar with all the folds. I was looking and I thought, oh, is this the same card? But it's a little bit different. So if you want this, this is my inspiration calendar that I send to my email subscribers every month. And I kind of go along with a Friday video with what I have on here. I do card sketches. I have color combo You can find that on my blog, the cards for the sketches and the color combos. And then this is just, you know, ideas for you to get inspired by. All right, so thank you so much for joining, and I will see you next week. Have a great week.